Greetings, YouTube. One of our fellow YouTubers, a librarian by the name of Becca, who is part of the Whiz Rocketeers collaborative channel, recommended a book to me a few months ago. It was Rats. The full title being Observations on the History and Habitat of the City's Most Unwanted Inhabitants. And I just finished it yesterday. I have to say, I was surprised how well written it was. I wasn't expecting a lot. I have quite a few books in my collection that are what I call very specific topics. I have a book called Cod, which is all about cod. I have a book called Salt, which is about salt, by the same author as the book Cod. I have a book called Mauve, which is about how the color mauve came to be invented. I find these very specific books intriguing because, of course, none of the authors just talks about the very specific subject of the book. And this author, one Robert Sullivan, is no different. While he does talk about rats in all their many and varied ways, specifically wild rats living in cities, he's also talking about disease, human habitation in cities, humans, movements to help give rights to apartment dwellers, the American Revolution. He uses the rats as a means of connecting all these diverse topics in a manner very similar to what James Burke did with Connections. And also his book, The Pinball something or other, I can't remember, but look up James Burke. He's an excellent author. And one of the great things is if you ever heard him speak, he writes just like he speaks. But the Rats book was a lot of fun. And one of the things I found interesting is that the author never really emphasized with the rats. He found them interesting. He was fascinated by them. He documented all of the efforts, all of his work of sitting night after night after night in alleys watching them. But he never really came to love them. Not like the author of the authors that have written about gorillas or wolves or what have you. This is very much, he's doing it from a distance. And whenever he found himself too close to a rat, it really came through to me in his writing that he wasn't happy about being too close to a rat. He really doesn't like them. And I can respect that. Wild rats are kind of dangerous. And one thing he said is that pretty much every person he ever encountered that he talked to on a tour and during the course of gathering information had a rat story. And I, too, have a rat story. When I was a kid, there was a flood in my neighborhood, and we had an open stream that was part of the floodwater system in my area. I think that they've actually closed that over now, because now I don't believe it's there. But at the time it was, and the flood came up, and it loosened a fence so badly that when the water retreated, the fence collapsed because it could no longer support its own weight. It had been undermined. And one day, while walking down the street with a friend of mine, I see this rat duck down what used to be the post hole. And I have no idea why I did this. But I picked up the post and I crammed it into the hole with all intent to kill the rat. I have no idea why I did this then, and I have no idea why I did this now. Maybe I saw the rat as representing something that other than the rat. I don't think I harmed the rat. I'm not sure, because I wasn't very strong and I wasn't very fast. And he was probably long gone before I ever get that post in that hole. But that's my rat story, at least my wild rat story. As I mentioned in another video, I have an interest in getting fancy rats or domestic rats as pets. And I really would like to do that at some point in the future, because I find them interesting. They're bright, and they're fun, and they're very social, and I appreciate that. But as far as the book Rats goes, anyone who has an interest in cities, or in some of the history of the American Revolution, and in rats in general, should find this book interesting. And I thank Becca for recommending the book, and I enjoyed myself.